Hey everyone, Sam here, also known as Mr. Stainless, and over the past couple of days I've been looking at the abilities and upgrade options that we'll have in Middle-earth Shadow of War. Yesterday we looked at combat and predator abilities, and today I want to take a look at the ranged and wraith abilities that we'll have at our disposal in Middle-earth Shadow of War. But before I do that, of course, if you are looking for a channel that's going to be covering Shadow of War at great length over the next coming weeks and months, you've come to the right place. Do feel free to hit that subscribe button if you like my content, and you'll be kept up to date with when new Shadow of War videos go live. But in the meantime, let's take a look at the ranged category, and the first ability we have here is Detonate. This will enable you to shadow strike into a fire pit, detonating it into a blaze of fire and setting nearby enemies on fire too. There are 3 upgrades, and we know about one of them. There's Bursting Arrows, Spider Song, which will cause spiders to swarm the area, which sounds absolutely terrifying, and Matron's Scent, which we don't yet know anything about. Freeze Pin will stick an enemy in place if you shoot them with your arrows. There are 3 upgrades: Brutal Cold, Savage Ice, which will enable the ability to affect Olokai and beasts, and of course then the final upgrade option is Deep Freeze, which will likely equally enable the ability to affect other enemy types. Bird of Prey will allow you to slow time and aim your bow while in the air. This of course will consume focus the longer you hold it, and it has 2 upgrades called Eagle Sight and Talon Strike, which we are yet to know anything about. Next we're on to Mighty Shot. This will allow you to fire an explosive shot. 3 upgrades here. There's Firestorm, which we don't have any confirmed details on, but which we can assume will be a fire explosion shot. Freeze Blast, which will cause a frost explosion, and Venom, which will cause a poisonous shot. And then we're on to Shadow Strike, which will enable you to transport yourself to an enemy by aiming at them while using your bow. You can then choose to kill or stun them. There's 3 upgrade options here: Chain of Shadows, Shadow Strike Pull, which will pull the enemy to you rather than you transporting yourself to them, and Shadow Dominate, which will allow you to transport to an enemy and dominate them as well. And then we're on to the Wraith category. Not a lot of abilities in either the Wraith or Ranged category, but that's okay. There's plenty of upgrade options instead. The first one in the Wraith category is Brace of Daggers. This will allow you to throw a dagger which will damage and stagger enemies. The upgrades available here are Serrated Edge, which will give your dagger a chance to inflict a critical hit, Swift Barrage, where you can rapidly throw 3 daggers, and Rain of Blades, which will allow you to throw 5 daggers at once at multiple foes. Then we're on to Elven Light. This unleashes a powerful blast which stuns and temporarily blinds nearby enemies. The Cleansing Blaze upgrade will set enemies on fire, Winter's Breath will freeze them, and Poison Blast will poison them when using Elven Light. And then we're on to Ice Storm. This will freeze enemies, allowing you to follow up with a flurry of strikes. Shower of Ice will enable you to use this ability to freeze enemies in front of you. The higher your hit streak when you activate it, the larger the area of effect. Frostbite will mean that Ice Storm finishers will cause a critical strike. And finally, Shattering Blow, which will mean that an Ice Storm finisher will shatter the enemy into lots of tiny pieces, causing nearby enemies to flee in terror. This ability is actually something that I find really interesting. It's great to see how Monolith are, I guess, expanding not only the Shadow of War or Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor universe with these different region types with the likes of more wooded areas and frost areas, but they're equally complementing that with certain abilities that are being unlocked because these areas are now in the game. And I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, back to the Wraith abilities. Next we're on to Consume. This will allow us to drain an enemy during combat. The Chain of Souls upgrade will enable you to aim at other enemies while you consume an Uruk and allow you to continue your drain train, so to speak. This will consume focus though for each additional target. Lord of Wrath will allow you to consume Wrath when using Consume, and Oleg Lord will enable this ability to work against Olokai as well. And then finally we have the Treasure Hunter ability, which will enable us to automatically collect loot from defeated enemies. Upgrading this with Discerning Eye will increase the chance of higher quality gear drops from captains and higher ranking orcs. Mindbreaker will increase domination speed, and Prospector will increase the chance of higher quality gem drops. And folks, that is it. That is Ranged and Wraith abilities. That's 2 more ability categories done. There are 2 more to go, which I will share with you in tomorrow's video. But folks, if you have found this video helpful, and if you have enjoyed it, do of course feel free to leave a like. If it's the kind of content you're into and you want to find out more about Shadow of War, do feel free to hit that subscribe button. You'll be kept up to date with when new Shadow of War videos go live here on the channel. But in the meantime, folks, have a great week, and I will speak to you all soon.